The recent Democratic victories in key states like New York, New Jersey, and Virginia mark a defining moment in the evolving American political landscape. These wins were not isolated results, but a collective statement from voters expressing their discontent with the current direction of the Republican Party under Donald Trump's influence. The elections served as a barometer for public sentiment, revealing a shift in energy toward Democratic leadership, particularly in urban and suburban regions that have been battlegrounds in recent cycles. In places where Republicans expected to maintain or regain control, Democrats instead outperformed expectations, demonstrating their ability to mobilize voters around issues that resonate with everyday Americans, such as economic stability, reproductive rights, and the preservation of democratic norms. This shift highlights not only the organizational strength of the Democratic campaigns, but also the waning effect of Trump's polarizing appeal beyond his devoted base. One of the most striking aspects of these results is the renewed enthusiasm among young voters and independent moderates. Many of them had become disillusioned by the growing political chaos and were seeking a sense of stability and forward progress. Democrats successfully tapped into that desire by positioning themselves as protectors of democratic institutions and advocates for inclusive governance. They communicated messages of unity, practical solutions, and social equity, in contrast to the Republican narrative that often revolved around grievances and culture wars. This messaging strategy seemed to resonate strongly in districts where swing voters have historically decided elections. Furthermore, the Democratic success suggests a broader rejection of extremist rhetoric that has overshadowed constructive policymaking within the Republican Party. The significance of these victories extends beyond local governance. They have national implications for the upcoming midterm and presidential elections. Democrats now find themselves reinvigorated with renewed confidence in their ability to challenge Trump's dominance in the political arena. For the GOP, these losses serve as an urgent wake-up call, forcing party leaders to reconsider their strategies and distance themselves from divisive tactics that alienate moderate voters. The outcome reinforces that American politics remains dynamic and unpredictable, shaped by the real concerns of citizens rather than the personality of any single leader. In essence, these election results reflect a recalibration of power, a moment where voters chose hope, progress, and practical leadership over chaos and confrontation. Donald Trump's reaction to the election setbacks revealed much about the current state of the Republican Party and its internal challenges. Following the Democratic victories, Trump and several of his allies quickly attributed the losses to external circumstances rather than strategic failures. He blamed factors such as the government shutdown, voter fatigue, and the fact that his name was not on the ballot. This defensive posture underscores a recurring pattern in Trump's political style, deflecting responsibility and maintaining a narrative of victimhood to preserve his influence among loyal supporters. While this approach has helped him sustain his base, it has simultaneously alienated moderate conservatives and independents who crave accountability and a vision that extends beyond personal grievances. The excuses put forth by Trump and his inner circle fail to address the deeper, structural issues within the Republican Party, chiefly its inability to appeal to a broad, diverse electorate in an era of shifting demographics and evolving social values. Many political analysts argue that these losses are not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a larger problem: the Republican Party's over-reliance on Trump's persona. The party has increasingly defined itself through loyalty to him rather than through a cohesive policy platform that responds to Americans' everyday concerns. As inflation, healthcare, and education dominate public discourse, Republican messaging often diverts attention to cultural flashpoints or conspiracy-driven rhetoric. This disconnection from practical governance has begun to cost the GOP dearly in competitive races. The insistence on framing every setback as a media conspiracy or external sabotage may temporarily rally the faithful, but it prevents honest self-reflection and strategic recalibration, both of which are necessary for long-term political viability. Furthermore, Trump's public reaction to these losses has deepened the divide within the Republican ranks. Some party members privately acknowledge that his polarizing influence hinders their ability to win elections in moderate or swing areas, yet few are willing to challenge him openly for fear of backlash from his base. This tension creates a fragile coalition, one where fear replaces strategy and loyalty outweighs vision. In contrast, Democrats appear more united under a message of competence and renewal, especially when framed against Republican disarray. By continuously externalizing blame and avoiding accountability, Trump risks leading his party into a cycle of repeated defeats. His refusal to confront reality may energize his diehard supporters, but it also reinforces the perception among many Americans that the GOP, under his leadership, is increasingly detached from the concerns of ordinary voters. Barack Obama's response to the Democratic victories was both celebratory and deeply reflective, reinforcing his enduring role as a moral and motivational voice within American politics. He congratulated the Democratic winners not merely for their political success, but for embodying the values of unity, empathy, and progress that he has long championed. Obama framed these victories as a triumph for democracy itself, emphasizing that the results reflected the strength of collective action and the power of people choosing hope over fear. His message underscored a broader theme, that real leadership is not about personal glory or dominance, but about empowering others to create meaningful change. In doing so, Obama positioned the Democratic gains as part of a larger struggle to restore decency, truth, and civic responsibility to American public life after years of political division and misinformation. During his remarks, Obama reminded voters that progress does not come from one election or one leader, but from the sustained participation of engaged citizens who believe in the ideals of justice and equality. He praised the younger generation for their activism and courage, recognizing their role in shaping the future of the nation. This was a deliberate contrast to the pessimism and chaos often associated with Trump-era politics. Obama's optimism carried a moral undertone urging Americans not to grow cynical or disengaged, even when political challenges seem overwhelming. He spoke about the need to rebuild trust in institutions and to reject the politics of hate and division. His words served as both encouragement and a challenge, calling on Democrats to continue leading with integrity and purpose rather than complacency. Moreover, Obama's intervention also had strategic importance. By stepping into the national conversation at this pivotal moment, he helped unify and energize the Democratic base, while reminding Americans of what constructive leadership looks like. His speech resonated not only with Democrats, but with moderates and independents who view him as a symbol of stability and thoughtful governance. In contrasting his message of inclusion and civic duty with Trump's combative style, Obama effectively reframed the political narrative, focusing it on shared values rather than partisan rivalry. His words highlighted that the path forward lies in cooperation, compassion, and commitment to the common good, principles that define true democracy. Through his message, Obama reminded the nation that the strength of America has always rested in its people's ability to come together for something larger than themselves. One of the most decisive factors behind the Democratic victories was the growing voter frustration over economic pressures and the rising cost of living. Across multiple states, citizens voiced their dissatisfaction with the way economic challenges have been handled, particularly under Republican leadership, that often prioritized partisan battles over practical solutions. Inflation, stagnant wages, and soaring housing and healthcare costs became central issues driving voter behavior. Many Americans are struggling with everyday expenses, and their votes reflected a desire for leaders who address these realities rather than engage in ideological conflicts. Democrats, by contrast, managed to connect their message with the lived experiences of ordinary families. They spoke about affordability, job security, fair wages, and access to health, core issues that resonate deeply with voters facing economic strain. This ability to link policy discussions with tangible outcomes gave Democrats a clear edge, as their platform appeared more grounded in empathy and responsiveness. Voters also expressed fatigue with the ongoing political chaos that has overshadowed meaningful policymaking. The perception that the Republican Party, under Trump's influence, is more focused on personal vendettas and cultural controversies than on addressing national problems hurt them significantly in these elections. Economic stress often amplifies political disillusionment, and when people feel their leaders are out of touch, they seek alternatives that promise stability. Democrats positioned themselves as the party of competence, experience, and steady governance, an image that contrasted sharply with the turbulence associated with Trump's rhetoric. This strategy helped them capture the support of moderates and independents, who might not fully align with liberal ideals, but prioritize effective management of the economy. Additionally, the Democrats' success can be attributed to their localized campaigning that emphasized community-level solutions. Instead of relying solely on national messaging, Democratic candidates tailored their approach to reflect regional economic concerns, whether it was small business recovery, infrastructure investment, or education funding. This made their campaigns feel more relevant and personal to voters. Meanwhile, Republicans largely relied on Trump's nationalistic appeals and culture war narratives, which failed to address immediate needs. The results indicate that voters are increasingly pragmatic. They want policies that improve their quality of life, not slogans or political theater. In essence, this election cycle demonstrated that economic empathy and practical solutions win over fear-based politics. The Democrats' victories, therefore, are not only political but moral in nature, reflecting a public yearning for leadership that listens, understands, and acts on behalf of the people's real struggles.